The following live stream has been pre-recorded. Any special weather reports or tornado warnings that are present during this program should be checked within 30 minutes from your local television stations. Thank you.
Powered by Riverside FM.
Live from Riverside, this is AJ&E News. Now reporting, AJ Baker and Ethan Jakowski.
Good evening, everyone. It is 9:15, quarter to 9:30. I am Ethan Jakowski.
Yes, and I am AJ Baker. Welcome into the newscast. We have a little bit of a short night for you so far. We only have eight stories into tonight. Of course, if more come in, we will broadcast them to you. But obviously, I have our first story, so we will start off with that. We're just gonna kick out two birds with one stone in this one. So I have two stories about this because both of the stories are obviously related. But first off, the remains. Let me start it this way. The one of the missing USF students, the male missing USF student, has his remains and body has been found in Florida. In Florida, obviously the FBI and the Florida, Miami, basically every police department in Florida is kind of taking over this case now. But for more information on this, here is Fox 10 in Phoenix.
New details tonight in the case of two missing Florida grad students. The body of one of the missing students has been found and identified. His roommate is in custody, but now another set of remains have been found, and we're still waiting to find out if this is the second missing student. Fox's Kelly Cowan has the latest.
Detectives have not yet identified the second set of remains found Sunday, but they were found just 2 days after Zamil Limon was also found in Tampa Bay. On Friday, investigators recovered Zamil's remains inside of trash bags near the Howard Franklin Bridge. On Sunday, detectives responded to North St. Petersburg, where another body was found in the water near I-275 and 4th Street. Hisham Abu Gharbeh is the prime suspect in the deaths of Zamil and Nahida Bristi. He was arrested Friday after a brief standoff at his father's home in Lutz, and he made his first court appearance over the weekend. Detectives have not yet released a motive, but court documents detail a potentially premeditated crime. Days before the students were believed to be murdered, detectives say Abu Gharbeh bought heavy-duty trash bags, duct tape, and cleaning supplies. He also allegedly used ChatGPT to ask about disposing a body in a trash bag. Retired FBI Special Agent Rich Kolko spent 2 decades conducting investigations. He was not involved in this case, but weighs in on what appears to be damning evidence against Abu Gharbeh.
To take the time to plan out a crime, and at no point did the person sit down in a chair and just say to himself, this is a dumb idea, I'm just going to walk away. And it's very sad. There may have been other markers here that he was thinking of doing this. And if anybody else had any awareness, they're going to feel, that they could have or should have done something to help stop or interrupt this crime from happening. Very, very difficult. Helps the prosecution in many ways. Having this chain of evidence hurts the defense. And there's nothing good that can be said about this other than it's likely that they'll be able to have a successful prosecution.
Court documents also reveal investigators found significant evidence at an off-campus apartment where Zamil and Abu Gharbeh lived, including blood and personal items belonging to both victims that were discarded in a trash compactor. And prosecutors say electronic data from Abu Gharbeh's car helped them locate Zamil's remains. Abu Gharbeh has a criminal history, including prior convictions for burglary and battery, as well as multiple domestic violence charges. According to court documents, his own mother confirmed to detectives that he has been violent with family members in the past.
And that was Fox 10 with that story.
Yes, that was Fox 10 with that story. Thank you. Now to the second half of this kind of incident before Ethan gets on to his next story. I just wanted to mention, and we do have like a second clip for this, so we will be showing that in just a moment. But if you can remember, when we talked about the Florida Attorney General now officially opening the suit against OpenAI, the company that makes ChatGPT, this open case, because as that story mentioned, along with this next story coming up, the shooter did use ChatGPT in prompts such as, quote, "How do I stuff a body into a trash bag?" and how do I dispose of human remains without people knowing, etc. But those have been released officially by OpenAI. They are now public record. But that's really just unfortunate. But this case will allow a lot more, just puts a lot more density onto the case now with the Florida Attorney General suing OpenAI. That this incident will have a completely different eye open in this case. But as you heard in that last story about the killer, about the shooter using ChatGPT, we do have a little bit more information on that and a more in-depth look at some of the files officially released by OpenAI. For more on that, here's NBC News.
Prosecutors say these Florida grad students' murders were planned, and the suspect messaged ChatGPT before and after his victims vanished. Jamil Limon and Nihita Bristi were last seen alive April 16th. 3 days earlier, the man's roommate, Hisham Abu Garbia, allegedly asked ChatGPT about putting someone in a trash bag and throwing them in a dumpster. According to this court filing from prosecutors, the AI chatbot replied that it sounds dangerous before the suspect asked how would they find out. Limon and Bristi were both Bangladeshi doctoral students in Tampa. After they disappeared, the suspect allegedly sent ChatGPT several more messages, including, "Has there been someone who survived a sniper bullet to the head?" Now, Florida's Attorney General says his office is investigating OpenAI, the company behind the popular AI chatbot. OpenAI telling NBC News the company is looking into these reports and will do whatever we can to support law enforcement in their investigation. Limon and Bristi's disappearance sparked a frantic search. I spoke with Bristi's brother before police declared this a murder case.
This is definitely concerning, and my family is devastated.
Now, following Friday's dramatic standoff with police, the alleged killer is behind bars. He faces numerous charges, including first-degree premeditated murder. Investigators discovered Limon's body on Friday, and right now they're working to identify another body found in the area. Tom?
Jesse Kirsch for us. Jesse, we thank you for that one. We thank you for watching, and remember.
And that was Jesse Kirsch with the story. Jesse, we thank you for that, like just Tom said. And that was NBC News with that story.
Yes, sorry about that delay in the video close. But Ethan, you have our next story, and it's actually an update in one of the stories that we talked about in Chicago with that Swedish hospital incident. Ethan, why don't you give us the updates?
All right. We do have a AJ&E News update on that CPD officer we talked about. What was it, yesterday?
It was yesterday after the CPD officer was confirmed dead.
Thanks. Anyways, all right. Thanks.
Anyways,
We're back to that suspecting killing of CPD officer had escaped electronic monitoring. Before shooting.
Monitoring. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Monitoring before shooting. CBS Chicago has that story.
Yes, so he was obviously on more charges, already on house arrest, already on probation and stuff like that. So this obviously added So this obviously added a lot to his current and future case sentences. Here's CBS Chicago.
Now to a breaking news update. Police officers converge on a funeral home to accompany one of their fallen colleagues. Officer John Bartholomew died on Saturday after a robbery suspect shot him at a Northside hospital. The gunman also shot Bartholomew's partner. He is still in the hospital with very serious injuries. As for the suspected gunman, he faced a judge today. Alfonso Talley refused to answer any questions in court. Police arrested Talley after a dollar store robbery on Saturday. He asked to be taken to the hospital, according to prosecutors, claiming that he swallowed drugs. Officers uncuffed Talley with a blanket over his lap for a CT scan. That is when it's alleged Talley pulled a hidden gun and shot both of the officers. There are even bigger questions this afternoon about the suspect. He is a convicted felon and should not have been in possession of a weapon at all. Also puzzling, why he was not held in detention after multiple run-ins with the law. Our Sabrina Franza is always investigating. She is live in our newsroom. She's working to find the answers to some of those questions. Sabrina.
Maria, the question so many people are asking tonight, what went wrong? How was someone accused of killing a Chicago police officer and critically injuring another officer able to be out on the street in the first place? We know the shooting happened while the suspect was in custody, but what court records show led up to that paints a picture about possible failures in the county's electronic monitoring system.
Alfonso Talley spent multiple years in and out of prison. Court records show his criminal past dates back to 2017. He'd been accused of armed robbery, possession of a firearm, driving a stolen car, and aggravated battery of a correctional officer. While on parole in April of last year, he was arrested again for carjacking a woman and robbing a man. A judge ordered he be detained again. That didn't last, though. In December, he was given an electronic monitoring device and was told he'd be monitored 24/7. A month later, a judge changed the terms so Talley could go to college, allowing him movement for 7 to 15 hours a day. Terms, records show, Talley broke multiple times. He violated curfew and missed a court date in March. His whereabouts were unknown because he didn't charge his monitor until Saturday. Found and arrested, not because of a warrant issued for his arrest for failure to appear in court, but because he had been accused of robbing a Family Dollar. 2 officers, one of them now fallen Chicago police officer John Bartholomew, took Talley to Swedish Hospital when prosecutors say Talley shot both of them before fleeing the scene.
Now, sources tell us how the judge in March made a warrant for violating this electronic monitoring. The search for Talley would have been expedited, something the new chief judge told us in an interview. We sat down with him in January. He told us it was a priority. We reached out to the chief judge's office today about what was and what was not done in the previous weeks to track down Talley and did not hear back. Marie?
I know we'll continue.
And that was CBS Chicago and Sabrina Franza. Sabrina, thanks for that. And CBS Chicago, thank you for that.
Yes, thank you, Sabrina. I should also mention that the Chicago Police Department is now being raised questions by patrons. I know they mentioned in the story about how he had initially gotten arrested at a Family Dollar for attempting to rob it, and then suddenly got asked to be taken to the hospital, and then him still having the gun on him. So folks are wondering why he was allowed to keep the gun on him or near close vicinity.
And then that's how he got house arrest.
Yeah.
House arrest for that.
So, yeah, he got house arrest for the Family Dollar, and then once he, again, he's had criminal history since 2017, and then once he got transferred to the Swedish hospital, from that quoted Family Dollar incident that he had to go to the hospital to get checked out, that might have been some sort of motive. Anyway, CBS Chicago, thank you for that very much. Our next story is comes up by me, and it's quite an interesting one.
All right, let's over to AJ to see what that is.
Yes, so recently a New York judge has officially set the Excuse me. Let's try that again. A New York judge has officially set the jail time range for Guy Riviera, who had killed a New York Police Department officer. That official ruling range would be 115 years to life in prison. Once again, that initial starter number, that is apparently the second largest initial term sentenced by a judge in New York. For more information on this story, we have Fox 5 New York.
115 years to life, a definitive sentence for a senseless crime that took a hero from his family and the city. Welcome to the noon. I'm Bianca Peters. Guy Rivera will never walk free again. Sentenced today for the fatal shooting of Detective Jonathan Diller. Fox 5's Antoine Lewis is outside of the courthouse in Kew Gardens, Queens, where Rivera was handed the maximum sentence. This was just a short time ago. Antoine.
He was, Bianca. I also want to bring everyone's attention to this scene that's just dispersing behind me. This is the Police Benevolent Association. They literally just had a news conference that wrapped up a few minutes ago in response to the sentence that was just passed down. I want to share that information with you right now. 36-year-old Guy Rivera, a judge sentencing him to 115 years to life for fatally shooting Detective Jonathan Diller. In March of 2024, Diller and his team were on patrol in Far Rockaway when they saw Rivera get into a vehicle with what looked like a gun in his sweatshirt pocket. Prosecutors say when police approached the vehicle, Rivera refused commands to exit, but instead pulled the gun out of his pocket and shot Jonathan Diller in the abdomen, and authorities say he attempted to shoot his partner, Sergeant Sasha Rosen, but the gun jammed. Officials say that Diller actually wrestled the gun away from Guy Rivera before he eventually passed away from his injuries. Today in court, his widow addressing the judge, addressing the courtroom before the sentence was handed down, talking about the impact this has had on her and her family. Take a listen to this.
Mr. Rivera, only you know what was in your heart that day. Only you know the choices that brought you to it. I believe we are accountable for our actions, and I believe that accountability does not end here. One day you will stand before God and answer for what you did to Jonathan. And no one can stand before that judgment without facing the truth. No sentence handed down in this courtroom will ever bring me peace for what was done to Jonathan, because no sentence can give back his life, restore Ryan's father, or make my family whole again.
Again, as you come back to us live, Guy Rivera, 115 years to life for first-degree manslaughter, attempted murder, as well as 2 weapons possessions charges. Also, just to let you know, everyone, there was an overflow courtroom because of just how much the police presence was inside the main one. So the officers here set up another courtroom where most of us were in the overflow room. And I was actually sitting in between 2 officers. One was a sergeant, one was a regular patrolman, both in uniforms. And just to hear the reactions once that sentence was handed down, Bianca, and we've covered these before, but to be actually in between 2 when this is handed down, and what the officer to my right exhaled, the sergeant just kind of dropped his head. So this was a very emotional day, very powerful. Also, in addition to Stephanie Diller, the widow, Jonathan Diller's mother also addressed the court, and she also gave a powerful testimony and statement as well. We're going to send things now back inside to you. A complete report is coming up in our evening shows. Bianca, back inside to you.
Okay, that was Fox 5, I believe, with that story.
Yes, Fox 5 New York. Thank you, Bianca, for reporting on that story. Ethan, you have our next one.
And thank you, Antoine,
with
that story, too.
Yep. Ethan has our next story, and Ethan, this is quite a sudden, spur-of-the-moment story. Why don't you tell us the details?
I would love to, bestie. If you'll not, never mind. I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm about to say something, but I'm gonna shut up. Anyways, 1 killed, 6 injured in mass shooting tied to illegal car rally in Colombia. Fox 45 has a story.
Tonight we are learning more about a deadly mass shooting in Howard County. Tonight we are learning more about a deadly mass shooting in Howard County, all tied to an illegal car rally in Colombia.
1 person was shot and killed, and Howard County police say the number of victims continues to grow. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Fox 25's Rebecca Pryor joins us with the latest on the investigation in Howard County tonight. Rebecca.
Mary and Kai, what started as a large overnight car meetup suddenly turning violent. Tonight, investigators are still here working to piece together what happened and why here, especially as we learn many of those involved were from out of state.
I got here at like 7:30, and when I pulled in, there was a line of like the police cars like all along the sidewalk there.
Healthcare workers arriving for their morning shifts, pulling into the parking lot beside two Columbia office buildings just hours after chaos was spilling out.
It's just scary.
You're going to be seeing a lot of vehicles leaving the area. We're saying one shot in the leg and the other one's possibly shot in the head.
Dispatchers describing the frenzy as officers responded to shots fired inside this parking garage along Alexander Bell Drive around 5:30 Monday morning. Howard County Police saying the group, estimated to be between 40 to 50 people, had gathered for an illegal car rally.
Still just shocked. If you don't know this is back here, how would you know that the parking garage was there for something like that to take place?
At the scene, officers finding one man dead and a woman injured. But it didn't stop there. Over the next several hours, 4 others walking into nearby hospitals, all with gunshot wounds believed to be tied to the same incident. Then another victim showing up at a hospital in Virginia. In total, police counting 7 victims, all from Virginia. The deceased identified as 24-year-old Leo Noel Valladares Arida. The others ranging from just 16 to 20 years old.
One of the shooters might still be out in the area. He's named Jorge. He's a Hispanic male. Last seen wearing a gray and black ski mask.
Despite talks of initial suspect descriptions, at last check, police still working to learn what led up to the shooting and who's responsible. Forensic investigators laying down dozens of evidence markers, seen canvassing the area for hours this afternoon. A disturbing scene that feels deeply out of place for those that work here.
I think crime in general, you hear more so happening in Columbia than before, but not this.
Now, while no arrests have been tied so far to this incident, Howard County Police do claim that they've actually seen a 66% drop in illegal car rallies since 2023. They say that they have done so using online monitoring and targeted patrols to try to stop them before they start. Reporting live in Howard County, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
I'm Mary Bubala.
All right, Rebecca. And that was Fox 45 with that story. Rebecca, thanks for that. Now let's go to Mr. Baker with the next story. Is it interesting?
It is actually quite a sad one, unfortunately. But that's sometimes what we experience in the field of news, and we will still bring that to you. So my next story, a Michigan native who has served for 7 presidents, Donald Reege, has died at the age of 88. He served for presidents including Barack Obama and George W. Bush. Here's WNEM News with more information.
A longtime public servant from Flint has died. Former Congressman Donald Riegel's family says he died last week of cardiac arrest at his home in San Diego. The Democrat, who started his career as a Republican in the 60s, served for nearly 3 decades under 7 presidents. And as TV5's Zain Omer reports, his legacy will be remembered for generations to come.
Flags are flying at half-staff in Genesee County in memory of former Congressman Donald W. Riegel Jr. His family says he died Friday at the age of 88.
He's one of the major political families here in the Flint and Genesee County area. His father was mayor of Flint before Don Riegel got elected.
Paul Rosicki, a retired professor of political science at Mott Community College, says Riegel was a Flint native and alum of the school.
He was an individual who would go out and meet individuals really on one-on-one. I mean, particularly for senators, very often they'll rely on second or third level individuals to do that. But Regal was a guy who would show up.
Regal was first elected to the U.S. House in 1966 at 28 years old as a Republican during a country divided by the Vietnam War. Ruzicki says Regal's opposition to President Richard Nixon's policies on the conflict led him to switch his affiliation to the Democratic Party in 1973.
Clearly made a big difference in his career. And it was the kind of character he was. He was a man of issues and was not necessarily tied to one political party or another.
Elected to the U.S. Senate in 1976, Regal later chaired the Senate Banking Committee, pushing reforms, Ruzicki says, expanded financial access, especially for women.
If you go back to the late 60s, early 70s, it was very difficult for a woman to get a credit card, to establish credit in other areas as well. The world has changed in large part because of laws like that have made a big difference.
Regal was also an early opponent against the North American Free Trade Agreement, concerns that later proved significant to Michigan.
When NAFTA came out, a lot of folks were in favor of it. It sounded like a good idea on one level, but clearly it's cost an awful lot of jobs. And Regal was able to see ahead of time and realize the impact of that, and was one of the relatively few Democrats to oppose that kind of an issue.
A longtime public servant leaving office in 1994, Ruzicki says Regal will be remembered for putting policy over party.
Comment on where we are now, because he was able to work quite successfully, as you say, with 7 different presidents of both parties. Today, it's hard to say whether somebody could pull that off without political division.
In Flint, Zaino Mayer, WNEM TV5.
And that was WNEM 45 with that story.
Yes, that was WNEM 5 with that story. Thank you. Donald Regal has died once again. I apologize for the name slip up. It happens. I'm human. As I mention, most of the times when I make mistakes, newscasters are human. They make mistakes. That's why news bloopers exist. But Ethan has our next story and his final story for the night, and he gets quite an interesting final story. Ethan.
I'll share it if you unlock the villains.
No.
Anyways, alright, hit it.
I already did the transition.
I know, I love that sound. I love that sound. Anyways, this is our final story. Ready?
This is your final story.
Oh, we got one more after this. You're sharing the last one, too. Alright. Electric air taxi takes flight at John F. Kennedy Airport. ABC 7 New York has a story. I can't pronounce it. Anyways, ABC 7 New York.
Closer look at air taxis. Imagine landing at one of the big airports here in New York City and getting something like a helicopter to pick you up and bring you to your hotel instead of a cab.
I know, it sounds like such a far-reaching possibility, but it is actually one big step closer to becoming a reality. Eyewitness News reporter Lindsay Tuckman joins us live from Kennedy Airport with a look at New York's next generation taxi. Ooh, do tell us more.
Yes, good morning. Hey there, Charlene and Pedro. It's kind of like a yellow cab, right? It's going to do exactly what cabs do, and that's bring New Yorkers to places they want to get to quickly, but it will be in the sky, not on the ground. You can actually see Joby's electric air taxi. It's behind me here, parked, getting ready to do a demonstration here on the tarmac at JFK Airport. It'll be flying, just getting people around like a cab. But we do actually have some videos that was a preparation flight that Joby Aviation did last week to kind of show people what it'll look like to get you where you need to go. It was departing from JFK Airport and landing at sites across the city's existing heliport network, which includes the downtown Skyport, the West 30th Street and East 34th Street heliports in Midtown, where you often see helicopters taking off. But this is not exactly a helicopter. It's like a mix of an airplane and a very quiet helicopter that does take off vertically. Now, this is a California-based company, and it's working to get Federal Aviation Administration certification to be used as a cab to get people across the city. And it is a really advanced aircraft, as you can tell, but specifically the goal is to bring people from JFK to where they need to go in 7 minutes. And you know what it's like driving to JFK Airport. It is not so fun, so this will be a quick and easy way to get around. I'm joined now by Bonnie Simi live, Joby's president of operations. congratulations. Bonnie, thank you so much for being here. It's a very exciting day for you all.
It's a fabulous day.
Tell us what you can expect if you're a New Yorker when this gets literally off the ground. What can people take advantage of once Joby's working?
Absolutely. So the goal here is to make it very, very seamless. We're partnered with both Uber and Delta, so you'll be able to book right on the Uber app. You can have Uber X, Uber XL, or Uber Air and fly a Joby aircraft. Very, very seamlessly and also very quiet. That's one of the things that people should be looking forward to, is that it doesn't sound like a helicopter. In fact, you can't even hear it at all overhead. We've done a lot of NASA studies to prove that. It's also all electric, so that is very sustainable. So it takes off like a helicopter, and then it transitions and flies like a plane, which allows it to be faster as well.
And faster, I think that's the key thing. People want to get to where they're going faster. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of congestion. Can people expect to have that smooth ride soon?
Yeah, so we're in our final stages of certification with the FAA. So once we achieve that certification, New York is going to be one of our launch markets. It's perfect. You can imagine, New Yorkers spend over 100 hours a year in traffic, and now you can, instead of spending that time, you can spend more time with your loved ones, which is really what this is about. And we also are, at scale, we tend to match similar to ground transportation in terms of costs. So this is intended to be very accessible. Operating our aircraft is a lot cheaper than operating a helicopter. So this is something for all New Yorkers.
Accessible is very good. And also, New York is a complex airspace. We have many major airports and some minor airports, helicopters, and of course, giant tall buildings. Yes. So talk a little bit about the safety standards incorporated in all this.
So first of all, our aircraft has highly redundant. So it has a lot of different safety aspects to it. It's got 6 propellers instead of, say, 1 rotor on a helicopter. So safety is very much embedded in what we do. In terms of the airspace, yes, it is complex airspace here in New York, but our aircraft operates like every other aircraft and other helicopters. We blend right into the existing infrastructure. And then at scale, the FAA is building a new next generation aviation infrastructure to allow for increased air traffic and even safer. So we fit right into the existing network right now.
Well, thank you so much, Bonnie. I appreciate it. We're excited to see it take off, and you guys can watch it as well as it gets ready to do these demonstrations across the country. The goal is to have Joby Aviation debuting in New York sometime within the next year. Guys?
And that was hold on, I got her name right here, and that was Lindsay Tushman with that story from ABC7 New York. Thank you for that. And that is cool. I'm not gonna lie. What do you think? Would you want to try that plane?
I think it's good for people, but I just would not want to be in there myself. But anyway, we are on to our final story now, and I will transition over to me. Yes, we have to go. Well, unfortunately, the last living member. I also have some sad news. Two sad news stories in a row. I do have some sad news to report. The last surviving member of the 1960s girl group, the Ronettes, has died at the age of 98, or 98, excuse me. We have CBN News reporting on this for us as our last story of the night. We have CBN News reporting.
The CBN family is mourning the passing of Nedra Talley Ross today. Nedra was married to CBN reporter and host Scott Ross, who died in 2023. She's remembered as one of the founding members of the Ronettes, the 1960s girl group famous for the hit Be My Baby. The group was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2007. Nedra appeared on the 700 Club with her husband Scott and founder Pat Robertson over the years. Living in the South as an interracial couple, Scott and Nedra faced many challenges, but she said those experiences only brought them closer together. She also cited prayer as the foundation of their marriage. Nedra died Sunday morning, her daughter releasing this statement at approximately 8:30 this morning. Our mother Nedra Talley Ross went home to be with the Lord. She was safe in her own bed at home with her family close, knowing she was loved. Thank you, Lord. Our prayers for the family. She will certainly be missed. Gordon?
She will certainly be missed, and she's being mourned by my family. I want you to get the picture. We called them Uncle Scott and Aunt Nedra, except with Nedra, she was way too cool to be called an aunt. Here she is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, a member of the Ronettes, hit songs. So let's get the picture here. Here's Scott Ross, one of the top radio DJs in New York City. He introduced the Beatles at Shea Stadium at that concert. He was friends with Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones. He had that, you know, by the world standard, incredible success. And here's Nedra, a member of the Ronettes in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She tours England with Jimi Hendrix and the Rolling Stones and friends with the Beatles, all of this happening. And then they get radically saved. And back in 1968, they come to a little tiny UHF station in Portsmouth, Virginia. Scott was sent on sort of an advance trip to scout it out. And in those innocent days, we couldn't afford hotel rooms for Scott. So Scott bunked in with me. And then Dad made everybody work. And so he had to go to the stable with me in the morning and, you know, this shovel's for you. He liked to joke later on, well, his job at CBN really hadn't changed from that first introduction. So this is the picture of all this success, and they come to Portsmouth, Virginia as an interracial couple. Just a decade before, in Virginia, that was illegal. And so to put up with that kind of discrimination, that kind of questions, you know, what happens to you, you know, integration and massive resistance were all the topics of the day. But they wanted to hold forth and say, we want to be a shining light. And I'm very proud of my father. He absolutely encouraged that. Let's show the world what it's like to be Christian, that there's neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, male or female, but we're all one in Christ. And he encouraged them through the years. Scott worked for CBN, then he went to work with Derek Prince, and then he came back to CBN. Remarkably successful career. Nedra all along the way, and they were part of our family. So we miss them. And it was a day of mourning for my family yesterday. And the folks, her memory will live on, continue in that, her memory will live on. They had impact not just here in the United States, they were instrumental in the forming of CBN Asia in the Philippines 30 years ago. Were part of CBN India the same time period. It's amazing the impact that they had, not just here in America, but on the entire world. And they left what the world called success to pursue what God had for them. They left it all and they lived for Him. And they're going to hear a wonderful welcoming, and I hope they're playing Be My Baby in Heaven today. That would be a wonderful tribute to what Nedra did.
Yes.
CBN News with that story, and
yes, that was CBN News. We haven't had a lot of stories tonight, but we have had some stories. We've had some deaths. We've had some. That sounds so horrible to say. I'm sorry, but we've had multiple deaths. We've had updates for you. In our newscasts, but in general we just try to bring you the news as best we can. If any updating stories come, we will bring them to you. Obviously that is our last story for the night. So I'm AJ Baker.
And I'm Ethan Jakowski, and we like to thank all our news sources for our stories. And good night.